Hey, grateful day, everybody. So it is a Wednesday morning. I am going to take you along my day and do some car chit chat around working in the community, but also answering questions around what do you do in private practice and in digital products when someone does not adhere to your policies and or contractual agreement. And so if that's something that you're interested in learning about and me also sharing some real case studies, then let's tune in. All right, grateful day, y'all. So got my tea, I got my little potato chives, and I am headed to let's give y'all the real mileage. So I'm headed down to South Central from where I live, and let's see how long my drive is right now. So it is 1 hour and 21 minutes. I'm gonna get there 14 minutes before I'm supposed to go live and do a workshop. It is 46 miles, okay? But we're talking morning traffic. The only time that I've been able to, sorry for the noise. The only time that I've been able to avoid this amount of traffic is if I literally leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I wasn't leaving that early. So I am a little bit behind today, just as I was getting everything situated. I hadn't been to the agency in over a month, and so wanted to pack my little spray ground backpack with my laptop and all. Needed to make sure that I was bringing y'all with me. And then of course I stopped by Starbucks so that I can get my morning started. And so let me eat my little morning breakfast, and then let's chit chat when I get on the freeway. Hey, grateful day, y'all. So I am about to hop on the freeway, had my potato chives, and your girl feels good. And this green tea that I'll be getting, Trenta Ice Peach Green Tea Light Ice, hits. My first time trying it was when I was in New York, and I went across the street from my hotel to do like a morning little CEO sesh while my family was still knocked out sleep. And I sat over there for 2 hours, and it felt good. And this drink was good because it doesn't leave like that lingering burn my chest feeling that I'll be getting in my 40s from like these lemonade drinks. So let's go ahead and hop into it. All right, so let's do private practice first, and always go and check out the description box, the show notes, if I decide to put this on the audio podcast, primarily because I have resources. There was a resource that I gave away for free. All you gotta do is put in your email address and you get my Google Doc policies form, but that's what we're gonna be talking about first, so that you can protect yourself against people who do not show, okay? So with private practice, I learned a long time ago that through some not cool experiences, that I'll link some of those videos down below, those case studies, I started developing office policies separate from my consent form. So the reason for that is that I wanted to make it very clear, kind of like an agency, that I have office policies and then I have therapy consent. And those two for me are separate, because if you keep adding things, that consent form will get extremely long. And so, not in any particular order, one of the first things you want to have in place is a no-show policy. So I get this question a lot in terms of, how many no-shows is someone allowed to have? And listen, there's no magic number. It's really about what you feel comfortable with. And so I came up with the number 2, but the way that I wrote it was more around the language, air quotes, that if they have 2 consecutive no-shows, I basically can use my office policies to close their case. And in certain circumstances, this is all, case by case basis, I can even say you lose your weekly spot and maybe they go to an as needed session, because it's clear. Also, I have to take into account how long they've been in treatment. Maybe this is a person who don't really have nothing to talk about. I mean, the session could slip somebody's mind, but if somebody's been in therapy with me for a while, it also could be the fact that they don't want to tell me that we need to taper down in sessions, even if I suggested it and they declined. That's happened before too. Like, no, I still need it and these things are happening. And then as I talk to them more, I'm like, nah, we're talking about the same thing over and over, and we're checking in for more than 50% of the session, so we need to go down to every other week. So 2 consecutive, for me, sessions in a row. So then of course our overthinking kicks in, and we, somebody may say, well, what if you get that one client that cancels this session, but then they come to the next one, then they cancel the next one. Again, based on your discretion, you should be having a conversation with your clients around the integrity of showing up for treatment to get better. And so I believe that you got licensed for a reason, and you should be able to have the conversation with the client about why consistency matters. And then again, take in clinical impressions, diagnoses, and honestly how the person has been showing up, and talk to them about how it is or is not working. It is still a business structure, okay? And sometimes we think about someone's mental health that will allow them to kind of get off the hook in terms of following rules of your business. And if that was the case, none of us would have a business with certain clientele, So 2 consecutive sessions. Now, also what's interweaved in that is what is defined as a no-show. So a no-show for me is defined in 2 different ways. Either you literally did not show up, or you did not show up past, you showed up past a 15-minute grace period and I canceled the session, which also puts you in the position as the client, the person gets put in the position that they have to pay the no-show fee. And this is really, really key. Let me just sneak this in here about insurances. If you are on any insurance panel, because I've learned this again the hard way, and then there were some loopholes that I realized I should have asked more questions. So I'm gonna put y'all on game right now. Put this on your list to do tomorrow, just to have it in your policies. Call every insurance panel, call them. Do not try to look in a document and try to decipher what they said, because I would want to hear from the horse's mouth. And then you can ask them where this is in the contract. Ask each insurance company, are you able to bill for no-shows? So what I found after I experienced too many no-shows or last-minute cancellations or late clients from insurance panels, and I think the straw that broke the camel's back was a transitional age youth, 19-year-old young woman, decided to come to the session 25 minutes late. She was my last session of the day. Therapist should know, that last client, you got to be on time. And I was physically in an office. And so I didn't have anything to rush to, but I'm just like, I'm not about to sit here and just sit here. You know what I'm saying? Like, my time is valuable. So I went to the parking lot and I had called her. I had texted her. It said delivered. And, I'm sending her messages through like a HIPAA app that I would used to use. And no response. So I left her a voicemail. I sent her an email. I was putting out all the breadcrumbs so that I can document it. See, sometimes we're thinking like, oh, we want to do this so that the client can know. No. I'm doing it first to cover my ass, CYA, so that if anything comes up later, it shows proof I've reached out and I have the backup of my policies. So make a long story short, I went in the parking structure, got in my car, and then as I'm about to back out, I see her walking down the parking structure, talking on the phone, yapping. And I'm in my mind, I can't think nothing but, because she ain't crying or nothing, so it ain't a bad phone call, and she laughing and stuff. I'm just like, oh, in my head, this is why you're not answering my phone calls and whatever. So I pull off. Now, a part of my gut was like, do I stop and say, yo, I canceled the session? But then a part of me is like, this age group also, adults as well, but this little transitional age youth, 16 to 24, a little brain not developed all the way. But I need them to learn responsibility, because that's also part of the reason as to why their family also wants them in treatment, is to learn how to adult and to follow rules. Because if not, these kids these days ain't gonna be able to keep and hell find a job. You know what I'm saying? And even if they're in business, think about entrepreneurship. It requires you to be super independent and on it in terms of understanding your schedule and stuff like that. So I didn't stop and I kept going. And she called when I had got to the light. Like, she called. Or no, she texted. And I told her, I said, I just left. And she was like, I know, but I just got here and I need my session. And I said, I get that, but I called you multiple times. I sent you an email. I sent you a text, and there was no response. Per the policies, and this is where it's cool, because you can literally quote the policies and copy and paste. I'm notorious for that. I will copy and paste a whole clause out of a policy and say, you can find this on page 5. I've attached the one that you signed. So, like, here's the clause. And I will only do that if I feel like somebody gets snappy. So she was very much getting snappy. and via text. And she was texting like, a teenager text like, blah, 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 right? And so, I didn't use any all caps, watch your typing fingers. I didn't use exclamation points. I had just said, I do understand that you were late to your session, but my policies are as follows. I have a 15-minute grace period. Within that 15-minute grace period, as I have talked to you about it when you first signed up for treatment, and you also signed a policies form, that you agree that if you are going to be up to 15 minutes late, that you will communicate with me. And I also want to let you know that per your insurance, I'll tell you what to do with your insurance, but per your insurance, they don't even allow me to bill for a full session to cover your session so that you won't have to pay out of pocket. You can choose if you want to disclose all this, but depending on the client, you may want to. I want to make it clear that if we continue to have a session and I can't bill the insurance, now we have a bigger problem, right? But I don't lead in with money, I lead in with policies, okay? Because the money ain't a big issue to me. I still would actually see the client, but not at the expense of me not getting paid my worth per hour of even sitting there waiting for them, if you get me. And so under extenuating circumstances, if someone was like in traffic, late to work, their babysitter didn't come on time, I do a one-time situation, but it's not a recurring theme like your babysitter is late every Thursday. Well, maybe Thursdays at 4 o'clock ain't working for you. Okay. So going back to the insurance, I found out like years in this game that some insurance panels will allow you to bill for a no-show, but it's a max of 2 per client. It doesn't necessarily may give you a time span. It may not say like 2 in a year, but it might. So that's why I say a call and ask a specific question. So if they say, oh yeah, the client, you can bill for 2 no-shows, and just make sure that you document when they don't no-show and that you're still submitting a bill. Document that just so that if the insurance has questions or an audit later, you know how to handle this. So, and if they say, yes, you're able to bill, then you want to ask them, is that just in general for the entirety of the client's case? Or is that every 12 calendar months? And if they say every 12 calendar months, then the next question will be, what do they consider calendar months? Because most calendar months is January to December, but you never want to assume that a company's fiscal year matches yours, January to December. It could be June to May, you know what I'm saying? And so those are the things that I put in place for no-shows, specifically for people who fall out of integrity. Another example that I want to give you, and then I'll switch over to the business side for other types of products, is what happens when the insurance isn't updating things up to date, or somebody isn't paying their super bill up to date, and you may think, oh, it's because blah, 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 and then you see them for another session. And again, this is to your discretion. It typically may happen more so on the insurance side because, one, we're not paying attention. We don't carve out time to work on our business. So I'm kind of sneaking in some coaching here. You want to carve out time once or twice a week to look at your back office and make sure that you're getting paid or that things are being processed. You didn't have anything being rejected. You didn't have a client questioning the super bill, whatever the case may be. So when I had a group practice, I had an associate, and this particular panel allowed us to let interns bill, and that is very rare. So the intern associate, it was an intern back then, the language. The associate, they were seeing the mother. I was seeing the daughter, because daughter was technically the first client in the room. And then when we did family session, we realized the mom needed her own outlet, whatever. So we were seeing them as a family unit, and from time to time we would do conjoint like family sessions together, and both therapists would be there. So we noticed, because this insurance panel like only updated stuff probably not for rejections, but more so if there was an issue with the insurance being on or off. We didn't get updated until 45 days in. Well, what ended up happening is this family unit with both sessions together ended up owing like, and this happened twice. The first time, let's just say, because I remember the last number, but the first number, let's just say, was like 3 sessions. So they may have owed like $600, right? So the mom did it through a payment plan and she paid it off. So we told her, like, we'll do everything we can, but please, what happened is we need to know if there's a disruption in your medical, which means that they're getting letters, they're opening it, but they forget to tell us as a mental health provider that they had something happen to their insurance, or better yet, what if your client switches jobs? Okay. So probably 6-8 months pass up maybe, and it happened again. And this time her insurance outright got cut off. like they no longer qualified or she missed the deadline, whatever the case may be, it got turned off. So what this taught me, because everything is, oh my gosh, but it's a learning lesson, and I just chalked it up to pro bono work, and that was the only pro bono work I was doing that year. And I still, as a group practice owner, had to pay the intern. So group practice owners, this is why you need a nest egg. So I went without being paid, but I did pay my intern. So what that taught me is, oh, I need to really run my private practice like a clinic. And this means that I should be running insurance checks, especially for certain panels, like people who don't have no copay, Medi-Cal, kind of thing in California. We need to be running it to make sure that they can even come to that session. Now, when you think about it, if you've been at an internship where they did Medi-Cal checks or Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, somebody was in the office doing those checks. And sometimes we, again, forget that that's the hat that we wear. And if you decide to hire a billing person, that is something that you need to pay for their time for. Meaning, depending on how many days a week, which is why you may cluster your sessions, or you may want to, within a 2 to 3 day time span versus like 5-6 days a week, and you see 2 clients here, 1 client here. Think about it. If you have to pay a billing person to check insurance every day, one way to do it is you can have them check it at the beginning of the week. But you want to do that before at least 24 hours, I would say 48 hours before someone's session, so that if there is an issue and you do need to cancel the session, you can either plug it in with doing consultations for new clients or work on your business. If you're in our coaching programs, log into the course portal and continue building up your marketing for your business so that you can also attract private pay clients or just more of the type of clients that you want. But don't look at it as a downfall when something like this happens, because I know somebody's going to hear this and they're going to be like, oh my God, that's why I don't want to deal with insurance panels. To me, insurance panels, there are some panels that give you a headache, don't get me wrong, and those are the ones that you just don't deal with, kind of like a relationship, like dump them. But there are insurance panels that are really good. It's just that you're not good. If I can speak quite frank, you're not good with time management. You're not good with buckling down and saying, this is what I chose to leave my 9-to-5 job. Ain't nothing wrong with this. I decided to take insurance to give me a buffer to attract more private pay clients. And I need to buckle down and understand how these insurance panels work. I also need to not get on 15 insurance panels without understanding the first one that I got on. I need to make sure that claims are going through with the first insurance panel to make sure that I know how to fill out the form in my EHR. So these are things that you can do to work on your business. But I just wanted to share those policies so that you can understand, what is happening in your back office. Now, let me just shift gears and let's just talk about integrity for a moment as it relates also to you being a private practice owner. Is in the coaching business, this is usually only discussed if you have ongoing services with a client. So if you have, let's just say, a group coaching program like I do, or even one-on-one coaching, we have policies, but they're more known as contractual agreements, coaching agreements, and or not office policies, but terms and conditions. So what we've done, depending on the era, and era, what I mean by that is if more and more, if we're starting to notice just a slight increase, I don't care if it's 2 people, if 2 to 3 people within a short time span start to not adhere to our payment plans and become non-communicative, then I will buckle down and get more strict. So for example, when I first started coaching, I had not even terms and conditions. It was like, here's the group program, but that was my betas. So really wasn't tripping really. I probably should have, but I didn't know no better. I had a coach, but they didn't talk about terms and conditions. And then after I realized people, like 1 or 2 people were defaulting in payment, I said, okay, I need to consult with my coaches and look at how they also onboarded me. And I want to put something in place to protect myself. So that's when I put in terms and conditions, and someone can check a box saying they can't even close the sale, like the sign up, until they check it off. We haven't been challenged on terms and conditions. We actually have been more challenged when people sign a contract. So after I started enrolling people into our private practice academy at a very high rate, I'm talking like over 150 students in 1 calendar year at some point, I realized that I needed to protect myself and the integrity of my business so that we can also not create frustration for my team with therapists getting upset, if I could talk real to y'all, right? I decided to consult and get a contractual agreement created. Some of y'all that are in DTA that are watching this video or listening to this podcast, you were part of the 4-year stint that I was notorious on doing contractual agreements, which meant that you cannot even get access to Kajabi. You cannot come to a coaching call unless you sign the agreement. Now, I've only had maybe 2 to 3 people who have challenged the contractual agreement saying, I refuse to sign it because you having me sign my life away. And I'm just thinking, like, if y'all got a private practice and you having people sign consent forms and policies, but you're signing up for something and you're unwilling to do it, it's like, I don't understand how that works in these people's universe in terms of even like universal laws, karma, with you expect something to happen for you in your business, but you question and or challenge when it comes up in someone else's business to help you, right? So at the end of the day, to me, the agreement in terms and conditions is not just to protect me, but it's also to help you. And what we explained to one participant at one point in the past is when you actually, and I did a Loom video, I'm like, if you actually look through the agreement, the first page is just acknowledging that you're signing up for the program in legal terms. The second page is, let's just say, outlining that you paid in full or you signed up for a payment plan, because you got to check a box saying which one you did. The third page is acknowledging that you will show up as your best self, and you got to put your initials next to every line. So it says things like, I'm 100% responsible for the outcome of me building my business. I acknowledge that I receive support and it's up to me to use it. Let me know in the comment box if like what I'm telling you makes complete sense. It's just like therapy. Therapy will work when you work it. But what do? We put that in a 3-page consent form and 2-page policy form. It's the same thing, but we just make sure that we cover everything that can possibly come up. And the beauty part about electronic forms, y'all, no matter what type of business you have, when things arise in your business, I'm not saying that you can't get angry or frustrated or irritated and it lasts for like a day or hell 6 months. But I also want you to take a moment and step aside, and this is where you would talk to your mentor or coach if you have one, or good friends that have a popping business at a level that you want, is you talk to these individuals about what's happening. Don't feel so prideful that you can't talk about like, damn, my client didn't pay, and they ain't paid, and they owe me this, and they still got access, or they had access to my intellectual property, whatever. Talk to people like myself so that we can put you up on game and say, okay, based off your personal situation, this is what I would do. Let me know if this was helpful, or we can dive deeper, etc. So we have had clients that have defaulted in coaching, and you know, we send them a copy of their contractual agreement or the terms and conditions. Especially if they signed it, we tell them, look at your signature, it was signed on this date, but this is what you said that you would agree to. And some people have even tried, like, you said this was a membership program. No, it says that it is 12 monthly payments, and if you do not complete your monthly payment plan, you will be in a default standing. You will lose access to everything that we have. And if I can just speak on a CEO note in which I deliver the services myself, you will be in bad standing with our company. Well, what do I mean by that? Let me ask you, if you had a therapy client that defaulted in services and their child that they're going to pay for comes to you and this person still has an outstanding balance, would you let them let their kid come to therapy? Put that in the comment box. Absolutely not, because unfortunately this person has an outstanding balance. And oh, I just remembered, unfortunately, because she was trying to use her insurance, guess who tried to come back to treatment? The daughter. And at, I don't know if she was like 17 or something like that at this point, 18, but I had told her, I said, hey, your record has an outstanding balance. Now, granted, I done been sent that over to my tax person. We wrote off what we could, but that doesn't negate the fact that this is a chart that is flagged that has an outstanding bill with our company. So the young lady was like, is there anything else I can do? And I said, unless you have a different insurance, that I can, you know, I'm not billing that insurance no more because you have an outstanding balance. And, you know, at the end of the day, you and your mother have to pay that balance before I even accept you as a new client again. So it sucked. She wasn't like, you know, severe, suicidal, anything like that. Because if that was the case, I just would have did a crash crisis session and then linked her with proper services. That is the ethical thing to do. So I just want to make that clear, just in case somebody, try to come for me in the comment box like, oh my God, like you neglected. I didn't neglect, because that's also in the policies. Is that just like in our coaching program, how we can remove your access and etc. It's the same thing in our therapy policies, which is if these things happen, we have the right, and this is actually in the APA ethics, like these are the reasons as to why termination of treatment can actually happen. Someone is threatening your life, have that happen, and or they are no longer paying. Yes, you have the right to close their case. Should you do your due diligence, have a potentially not full session, but maybe a 15-minute check-in, give them referrals, talk to them about what happened, so that at least I would say we can bow out gracefully and document that we communicated to the client why their case was being closed. We gave them proper referrals and we still let them know they have an outstanding balance. Yes, you should do that, okay? So again, wanted to tap in and just start having these open conversations around hard topics, specifically under finances in business, integrity with also you as a business owner. If you seek out coaching or mentorship, that you also are integral to how you show up. Because when I tell y'all, karma is a mother. And the thing is, the whole universal cycle, the boomerang effect, it doesn't have to come back in the way that somebody dishes it out. So what I mean by that is someone can dish out, I'm gonna stop paying. But the way that they get that situation back, I'm not wishing karma on nobody, but the way the universe works is, it doesn't mean that somebody's not gonna pay them back. It might happen like that. Or it might be that something happens to a material good. Anything could happen according to universal laws. So to protect yourself, all I ask is make sure that you're showing up at the highest level of integrity as possible. Because beyond ruining relationship capital, which to some people it doesn't matter, you may not have had that client for a long period of time, or for digital products the person may think like, oh well, I ain't close to the person, I only talked to him once, I ain't showed up to no coaching call, whatever the case may be. It's just, to me personally, a bad practice to also go to sleep at night knowing that you're refusing to follow through on something that you signed up for. And that is the absolute opposite of integrity. So business owners, don't be walking around here hyping up and preaching and teaching the people to be integral to themselves, their mental health, to whatever obligations they signed up for. And you talk about it in session, because I am very sure in that moment you probably get a chill down your spine and you don't know where it came from, but I'm about to tell you in closing. It comes from you knowing that you have unfinished things to handle under integrity. So how dare you talk about somebody else? So if y'all love this car chat, let your girl know. I would love to have you back if you are all about abundance mindset, abundant lifestyle, abundant thinking, especially when it comes down to business streams of income. And so subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave me your biggest takeaway and aha moment. And again, check out the show notes in the description box. Any resources regarding what I talked about today, including the no-show policies form and all those things, I will include those down below. All right, y'all have a great day. Bye. Did they tell y'all what workshop this was? Trauma and work here. And then we'll swap. All right, so the person who's raising their hand, okay, just pay attention. So I want you to put both of your hands like this with your palms out. I feel like, boom. I can't lose it. All right, switch. So for the other person, it was palms out, cross, interlock, flip it in. So who noticed yourself having like an internal conversation and you were trying to literally